Quackcast Nation, we had to have the one and only Jodi Wilding back in the mix, talking about our goals and intentions for the new year. We're in 2024, folks, and I think this is time to be a lot more proactive with how we achieve our how we become our best selves. We'll put it that way. So, Jodi, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back here with you in 2024.
Yeah, likewise. And I mean, I was thinking about where to go with this, but honestly, if I look back at the year and the many conversations we've had, I think a lot of this stemmed from our own personal struggles with trying to achieve our goals and trying to be more intentional. So, not to get too personal, but like, how have you approached this? Like when it comes to trying to achieve your big picture goals and being more intentional. Like, how's this been in your life?
Great question and great way to start this off.
Bang.
Yep, right into it. We're going to just dive right in. So the way I approach things is like I have kind of that bigger picture of where I want to go, who I want to be in my life, what impact I want to make. And then again, we love that word, that reverse engineer it. And so kind of break that down into, bite-sized little goals, because it's all about those like small shifts, that like little 1% every day. I think two things that I've really come to realize, and then I think one is one I really struggle with. So two, it's that clarity, right? You really want to have that clarity of where it is you're going, what that goal is, because then otherwise it's just, it's a bit of a mess, right? You don't really know where you're going. So clarity, I think, is number one. Number two is beliefs. Our beliefs are always supported. So if we don't believe that we can achieve it, if we don't believe in ourselves that we're worthy of achieving that goal, then we are going to sabotage ourselves. So I think those are the biggest things when I'm approaching goals that I really look at and need to work on, for sure. And that feeling, like when I'm setting a goal, I think about why I'm setting that goal. Like, how is this meaningful for me? How do I want to feel when I've achieved this goal, and really connect with that along the way? How about you? I got you.
Well, okay, I'll answer your question soon, but I guess my first question is, what are your goals then? What is, as we approach, we're in 2024, what is the big picture for Jodi?
So for me, and I don't always recommend setting too many goals, because then again, we don't really have that clarity or that focus that we need. For me this year in 2024, I do have some business goals that I would like to achieve. I have like some financial goals. And this year, I really want to focus on my health, because I think as an entrepreneur, business owner, we can be very sort of focused on that. And I think the last few years that really has taken a priority for me. Whereas this year, I do really want to focus on health and like moving my body more and exercising more and that, which I think a lot of us, when we start the new year, is kind of what we focus on. Specifically, I don't know if I want to share my specific goals, but I will tell you it's more about how I want to feel. That's really what I connect with. So I'm not putting like a weight, a certain number that I want to achieve. It's more just how I feel day to day.
Right, like it's some less about the metrics, more about the feeling, which ultimately I think will lead to. Personally, I believe that everything gets better if you're feeling optimal, whether you are measuring them or not. I'm a metrics kind of guy, and but I do recognize that a lot of the time when you are focused on your feelings, whatever it might be, your weight, for me, muscle mass, all these things can move in the right direction. So, I know it's interesting what your approach, because I think a lot of people are feeling the way what you're describing, wanting to be more focused in 2024, because I think peri-pandemic, post-pandemic, a lot of us were pulled in a lot of directions. We were we were easily pulled because of how accessible we all were in terms of Zoom meetings and just easier. Like, it just felt like everyone had more demands as we kind of progressed, and for me, like what you're saying totally resonates. And I'm less focused on definitely the physical side, but more on doing stuff that brings value and joy and impact. You know what I'm saying? So, so not to pick on you, but how are you going to execute? Like how are you going to be able to and by you expressing how you're going to do that, I think a lot of us can learn. But yeah, there's one thing to have that clarity. It's one thing to be clear on your beliefs and how you want to feel. But how do you execute?
So one of the practices that I really love and that I've been doing for a few years now is writing. And I feel like we have talked about this. I write usually every morning or night and begin with, I'm so happy and grateful now that whatever it is that I want to achieve, who I want to be. And so I write from that present tense as if it's already happened. And so by doing that, I'm really connecting with that emotion and that feeling. And I find that, well, there's two ways of looking at it, but I find when I start my day from that place, it really sets that intention, and then I'm already beginning my day from that place, right? So it's like, what are the choices that I'm making that are in alignment with that and how I want to feel? So I find that in itself is really powerful in helping me achieve the goals. And when I'm setting the goals is making sure that it is something that's really meaningful and connecting with that and having little reminders up too. Sometimes I put little Post-it notes all over so I can just keep that in the front of mind and have those little triggers of okay, who are you being right now? Are you making a choice for who you want to be, or are you, where you're making a choice of where you're at now, right? Because when you think about it, a goal, what it really is, it's we're evolving into something and someone else, something that we haven't done before. We're stretching ourselves, and so to have that desire, really connecting with that desire is really important, right? With the desire to change has to be greater than that desire to stay where we're at. And we're developing those new habits and making choices aligned with that. And so having these little reminders, I find super helpful, especially in the beginning, until it becomes more of a habit.
I like starting off the day with that feeling, that assuming that whatever you're trying to attain, you assume that it's happened already. Exactly. I do think there's, I don't know what it sounds a little woo, but I think when you throw that out at the world, positive things happen. I've seen it too frequently.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It is so really quite amazing when you do that, how powerful it is.
Yeah, and so that part, I honestly, I think it's a good takeaway for folks to have that approach where this is happening. You are achieving your fitness goals. You are achieving your wellness goals. You are achieving your career goals, and have that attitude and that confidence, that swag. Exactly. That's what I find. You get that swag as that happens, and I don't know. I just think a lot of people, it's valuable to hear that for folks, because they're coming from, often many of us are coming from a place of where we lack that confidence, lack that guidance. And so honestly, I think that's very helpful. Anything else that kind of comes to mind to try and help execute, whether it's, as you mentioned, starting your day right, having those reminders during the day? Is there anything in terms of accountability, having somebody that holds you to your goals? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
So I think yes. For me personally, I definitely share my goals, and I have a lot of people in my circle that are super supportive, and we're all like, we all have these big goals that we've set for ourselves, and we're all trying to make an impact. And I think we are supporting each other along the way. Do I have anything specifically to hold me accountable other than myself? No. I do find that really works for some. A good friend of mine, she has a woman that she connects with like every morning. And they hold each other accountable and talk about, okay, like what are we doing for the day, and ensuring that they're meeting those targets. For me though, I find I just work better, doing the writing. I find that really helpful. Visualization, right? Like that's what a lot of the top athletes and top business people, leaders, that's what they do is that visualization, which for me that just works really well.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask you. I'm curious about.
Okay, yeah, let's go. And just to you pump up your tires, Jodi. Like I don't know what you could ask me away, but also maybe it's an opportunity to show the world how you help people through these kind of issues and have that clarity and being more intentional. So you could ask me away, or you could pretend that I'm one of your clients to try and add that piece, if that's whatever's easiest. I'm your guinea pig, Quadcast Nation. I'm currently being vulnerable here and saying I'll be that guinea pig for Jodi to show how she flexes. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Plot twist.
It's funny. We were talking before the show. We're like, oh, what? How are we gonna do this? Well, I'm like, I got an idea. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna just throw this at you and see how it goes.
Okay. Well, so let's play that game. What is it that you want to achieve? What are your goals for this year?
So I want to be have more a little bit more fulfillment, less distractions. I feel like I get pulled in a lot of directions, and I want to do stuff that matters. Like I want my actions to be more impactful, not just, hey, this is something you could do and see how it happens. Like I tend to throw spaghetti to the wall and see what works. But I think I want to have more of a vision where we want to go, and focus on that and not let some of these other distractions impair that.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. I'm following you. I am curious. Well, what would that look like, right? Like, what would that look like if you'd said having a little bit more focus, making more of an impact, fulfillment. I think you had mentioned fulfillment as well. What does that look like?
That looks like like in my roles, working with others to create positive change. So some of that might be working with our research team to have projects that not just do projects so you could say you publish something, but to actually either reduce spending in healthcare, improve the quality of care for our patients. With some of the other activities, like, say like even the podcast, like what's going to be the content that's going to move people, that's going to actually get them to actually motivate them to live a better, stronger life. What's the content that's actually going to help move the needle in terms of our healthcare system? How can I be a voice or be active in improving our healthcare system? Because being active, like right now, it's, as many of you heard me say, like we're in a crisis, and what I would love to do is be a part of the solution. I really would like that. That's a huge motivator. I want to be like the time I spent it to be quality with people that I love, people that lift you up. That includes my family. Yeah, I just I as many of the listeners know, like my mom passed in November, and it was just kind of like this wake up call of stop wasting time doing useless crap. Like, if it's doing somebody asks you to do like a example is sometimes you get pulled to do like a editorial or a comment on some trending thing on TikTok for a magazine. I'm like, that's not moving the needle. That's not impact, right? And that takes time to do. And so I'm just always thinking about what is going to be the biggest bang for your buck with your energy and activity when it comes to some of these goals.
Okay. And we've talked about this a few times, but I think it's important to maybe bring up or ask again now. I have a couple different ways that we could go with this, but that part about the joy, like what is it that gets you really excited, right? Like you've mentioned a couple different ways that you can help and make an impact, but like what is that one that just really like lights you up and gets you excited?
Yeah, good question. So, and maybe I won't give this one thing, but you could do your magic. But when the idea of like I love problem solving. I really love putting your head together as a team, even individually at times. But you have a problem in front of you, so improving our healthcare system as an example, I love that. I love it. I love the idea of putting your head together and having creative solutions and trying to implement them, not just come up with the ideas, but actually trying to execute on them. That's awesome. And it kills a few birds because usually you're connecting with others. You are like most of these endeavors you're not in a silo. You got to work with others, and they have that similar passion. So even when you're not together, you shoot them a text about an issue that you're thinking about. It brings a bit of excitement and into your world. So I think that lately has been something that has really brought me fulfillment. There's joy. There's other things like when we had our men's health group. We had 10 guys that were trying to get healthier, and when somebody sends a message like I'm down 4 pounds, or I'm down 5 pounds after this, it's really fulfilling, and it brings a lot of joy too. And it's another way that you're improving healthcare is empowering people to make healthy choices. And but ultimately, what if I was thinking of a theme that brings a lot of fulfillment, and joy is solving problems, like using that creative muscle to come up with solutions. I love that shit. It really is. It really does bring.
I can see it, and like you
Escalate.
light up when you start talking about that. Almost a little
Yeah.
mischievous. There's like a little twinkle in, twinkle in your eye.
Maybe it is a bit mischievous because a lot of the solutions are. I mean, I think if I've learned anything over my years is that one of my unique, I don't know if it's a talent, but I do look at things differently than usually people in my environment. Like I can come up with ideas that the people beside me aren't thinking about, and so sometimes you'll bring stuff up and they're like, that's crazy, and then I'm like, is it though?
Right?
Is it really crazy?
Is
And
what if it could work?
yeah, and I'm a guy that I don't shy away from risk at all. Like I think being too conservative has a price that people don't recognize. I see it in like individually with patients. I see it at a systemic level. But yeah, there is a little bit of mischievous. I can't say the word mischievousness, badness, dodginess.
I love it. And what I do hear you say too, right? It's like at that individual level, you love working with individuals, and then also more of that systems, right? Like a systems level of healthcare that you want to create change.
Yeah, and I don't know what's a bigger push, but I mean, if I like the idea of impact, like what gives you the most impact, and if you could fix a system or improve the system, that's many lives that could be altered. And I mean, this is one thing that the pandemic or this platform has taught me is that, as a physician, you treat the patient in front of you and they do well. You've saved a life and it impacts the family and the friends and the people around them. But when you can inform the public, when you can motivate the public, your reach can be huge, right? Like, this is something I saw during the pandemic during different times. Like, for example, when in the earlier waves about addressing some of the vaccine hesitancy, like that, I had people come to me saying, I got that my first vaccine because of what you said on the news or whatever. Like, that's, to me, that's huge. And so this has been an eye-opening experience, realizing that you, like, just being out there can have significant impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, well, when you had mentioned push, like, what is that big push? And I'm wondering, what is, like, really pulling you? What is that pull, that inspiration inside you?
I think maybe it's a bit of the value of justice. I see a lot of people faltering, right? And it was a value that was instilled in us as kids, and I think a bit of it is growing up as a black kid in Alberta, where you see a lot of people getting treated like crap, whether they look like you, whether it's Indigenous population, and that's always bothered me. Like, when people aren't getting what they deserve, and when I look at the healthcare system, there's tons of folks that aren't getting what they need. They're not getting their surgery on time. They're not getting access to a family doctor. Like, you got somebody sitting in the emergency room for 18 hours because they need to get their prescription refilled. That's not working. That's not right. Like, even when one of the examples that started our research program, Resource Optimization Network, was when I saw a patient that was heavily reliant on physiotherapy that couldn't get it on a long weekend because of healthcare cuts, and then went downhill after that. I'm like, that's not right. Like, if that was my family member, oh my God, like, I would be so creased. I was creased, and it wasn't my family member. So to me, I think maybe that pull is that justice angle. It was what pulled me to speak about certain issues during the pandemic too. It's what pulled me to speak up for our kids. It's that justice value, I think, is a loud voice for me.
Yes, and that advocating, right? Advocating for people.
100%.
So often when I begin a session, like with clients, I like to ask them, like, well, what do you want to get out of this conversation? Like, what would be the most helpful for you in moving you forward?
Most helpful? I guess it would be. I guess it would be, because I didn't think this far ahead. What would be most helpful for me would be what direction to go, and maybe some concrete examples of how or what to avoid or where to focus my energy. I feel like I'm opening up too much here, but it's good. Okay, this is backfiring. But yeah, no, I think I do think how to where to focus energy, and that will lead to that feeling more fulfilled and feelings like that.
Yeah.
I'd be blushing if I could. I don't know why I'm getting all flustered
Really?
a little bit. A little bit. I don't know. I thought it would, yeah, anyways. It's good. It's good. We're rolling.
Well, and we can always, right, like, cut it or...
No, I know. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Stokely, we're going, baby.
We're
Stokely's
going.
our lovely
Well, because,
editor.
I mean, now, when you're talking about that too, I am curious, like, what is that emotion that's coming up for you?
Oh, just vulnerability. Like, it's just like, you tend to be a bit on the stoic side at times. But, yeah, no, I just feel like people are getting an inside look
Yeah.
into the mind of Karen Mantang.
Which is really great. I think that's amazing, and thank you for your willingness to open up and to be vulnerable. I think that's really important. So thank you for that. And of course, I love diving into that a little bit, because I think it's important. Like, this is obviously something that is really meaningful to you, right? And I think the more that we can connect and tap into that, then I think we'll understand more of where you want to go, right? So it all depends on how much you want to connect with that right now for the listeners.
My future is in your hands, Jodi Wilding.
No pressure. No pressure at all. So, again, there's a few ways that we could go with that. But I guess let's go this way. I would love to know, when you're thinking about that fulfillment piece, where you want to be, right? You've talked about impact and fulfillment. Like, what would give you that feeling? What would that look like? How would it feel? How would you know that you are there and that you're doing it?
I would know. Maybe I got a bit of a vision of being in this work environment, of this office, with several like-minded folks that have similar goals to try and improve this healthcare system, and we're connected at more than just like a work level, but as a like on a mission level. And when we're together, there's this positive energy. There's this almost like this common sentiment, this common feeling that's in the room. It's almost like during the pandemic, the early parts where the public was leaning on us because of what was at stake. Like, I look forward to going to work because we had a similar purpose. We really felt connected at that time. And to have that kind of similar feeling and that similar objective, and in a positive work environment where people could come up with creative solutions, come up with ideas that are supported, and we help foster, and it's multi-angled, multidisciplinary, not just physicians, but people in the healthcare space and people in the biomedical space, startup space, business space. I don't know, but I just really like that idea that you're walking into an environment where you have that same purpose and people are excited to be there, and you're doing meaningful, impactful work. And yeah, and that feeling would just be ease. It would be joy. Like, it's like, hey, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like, yeah, I don't know what it would feel like. It doesn't feel like work. It just feels like what you're supposed to do.
Right. No, I love that. And that's also, I think, one of those key things when we are looking for like our purpose or that fulfillment. It's like, what would you do if you took money out of the picture, if you took everything out and just for the sake of doing it? And that's it, right? Like, you just love to do it just to do it, and to be a part of that, and to create change and think outside the box and collaborate with like other people to really make a big impact, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the way you put it too. Like, if there was no money on the table, would I be excited about it? 100% would I'd be excited about that. Like, because to me, it's just like your charitable work. Like, when we do all our Bridges Over Barriers stuff, it's so fulfilling knowing that you're helping out kids. This would be the same level, because honestly, you'd be helping out so many folks if you're improving accessibility to care, if you're access to family docs, if you're reducing surgical wait times, if you're just improving the efficiency of our healthcare system, making it more sustainable. That's lasting change that maybe not everyone would recognize immediately, but it's going to impact them at some point. So to me, that'd be huge.
So why do you think, like, and we've had some other conversations about this, and I think you are actually very clear, and you do get really excited when you talk about that. Why do you think you're not there or you're not doing that right now? What's holding you back
I
from
think
doing
this is the part was so many distractions. Like there's, I get pulled in so many directions. I get pulled in. I mean, you got your real job, you got your research team, you got family life, and then people asking you to do everything. Talks here and there, shows about X, Y, Z. Come join this committee. Come join this volunteer group. Do this brand deal. Do all these things, and so it's and my problem of late, well, throughout has been like, here's this, let's throw spaghetti to the wall and see what works. And I don't think that I'm at that stage anymore. I think I'm just need to have a more clear direction and just say no
Yes.
to more things. I don't say no enough.
That's
You know
what
what I
I
mean?
was going to ask you. How are you at saying no? But I think we know the answer.
I mean,
answer to that.
Yeah, like I'm good at when it's clear that it's a no. I'm good at it, but I mean, I guess it's the same thing. I don't want to say no often because maybe this is the time that this would be a great connection is going to be made. Like you never know what
Right.
comes of it, right? Like, and that's what. But I think I got to stop worrying about that. I got to stop worrying that, oh, this could be a missed opportunity. Like there was a couple events that I went to that I didn't think that I thought was going to be a nothing burger, but ended up being glorious. But if you're being intentional and have that positive mojo, it's going to happen anyway. That's I guess that's what I'm kind of settling eventually.
Well, and the thing is, and I get that FOMO, right? Like, what am I going to miss out on? Because, right, it just takes one person or one event, one moment. But when we're not saying no, then we're not really leaving that room to say yes, and for those other things to take form, right? So one of my, and you asked how I'm approaching this year and streamline. I'm constantly talking about streamlining and being more focused and intentional about where I'm going and what I am saying yes to, and practicing saying no to more things, like really cutting it out. Because you're right, if our focus, like if we're all over the place and we're not really focused on that goal and making that impact, and we're going to just feel like we're throwing spaghetti at the wall and not really getting anywhere, we're not really making progress, right? So one of the questions too that I wanted to ask you was like, what is it that you need to let go of? You know, like what do you need to say no to? What are those priorities?
Yeah, no, I think there's a few things, but I've already started saying no to, for example, episodes that people are approaching me with that I don't think are aligned with the big picture. People don't know this, but we're going to be doing episodes every 2 weeks instead of 1 week, just to kind of create some more space. Our Substack, we're going for less frequent but more impactful newsletters. So that's been that's a current thing that we're changing. Not seeking out the brand deals as much. Like we're working with a couple companies now that are excellent. Just sticking with the ones that we think are huge and doing well with us and align with our vision. But yeah, I'm starting to say no to way more things. Useless committees. If the committee, like, and I mean, one of the things I'm pretty good at, if there's no agenda, folks, for a meeting, I ain't coming. The meeting's got to be clear what the goal is. So I've been doing that more, prioritizing family activity. You know, like later, like we started at 10 o'clock today. This is, and that the reason was so I could take the kids to school. You know, and that's the priority. It was a bit with a busy schedule. That's the time to connect with the 5-year-olds. He tells you about this dinosaur and that football team. This is before the playoff game. He's like, "Did you know the Baltimore Ravens are the #1 ranked team in the AFC?" He wants to tell me that about 65 times. This is the time. This is
love
Daddy
it.
and Zeke time. The older boys are too cool to walk with their dad, but yeah, it just being just blocking off the time for more important for the things that align with where our goals are. And but yeah, definitely been since the new year, and so even since Mom passed, we're being saying no to more for sure.
I know those moments, it really does, I think, highlight what is really important to us, and how we want to live our lives. And so it's a hard time for sure.
No, you weren't getting, were you getting verklempt? No, you're not getting
A
verklempt.
little bit.
Oh
I
yeah.
do feel
Okay.
like a little bit of emotion. Yeah, like I get it. Like losing a parent, it's
I have
like it's
never
tough
seen you
on
get
so many
verklempt
different
before.
levels. Pardon?
I've never seen you get verklempt before.
What?
No,
Really?
I've never seen you all these years or whatever, months or whatever. I've never. I always felt you were like stone, like not stone like emotionalist, but like stone as in like she doesn't show that side, or she shows that side later. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, it was a
No, I
bit
know it's getting hot in
caught
here.
me off guard. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's yeah, I know, and I don't have the words right now, but those are very powerful experiences and life lessons, and it really does show us what is important and where we want to go. And I do think that's great, like prioritizing family time, right? Because these little ones, they grow so fast, and it's important to really cherish and be present in these moments. And I think even just being more present in our lives. And that's one of the things about goals and intentions, right? Is goals are often that future thing, which is great, but it's important to be present along the way and ensure that we are living and fulfilling that as we go along, that feeling, right? Now we're kind of going in a different direction.
No, it's all good.
But when
But
you
yeah,
think about that, like that future state, like how can you feel that now, right? How can you feel that now and connect with that now? And as if your goal is achieved, and I think that too helps that filter and know what to say no to and what to prioritize as you're going forward, right?
absolutely. And just to piggyback on the priorities thing, just because I mean it was an important aspect like that. The losing a parent. I mean, now I've lost both parents now, and moms are. I hate to say it, but they're different. Like it's a bit of a different beast losing your mom, because especially my mom was. I mean, every mom is like this, but very nurturing. Very, she's very like she took care of us, and especially as like some of the fondest memories I have was as a sick kid, like mom being at the bedside in the hospital and not wanting to leave, and really putting you at ease, and seeing her like having being on the other side where you're helping to take care of her, and you go through all these like the circle of life, I guess. You cannot, like I feel like you're not serving your loved ones well if you're not reflecting on how to live a better life after, like what lessons from that. And it's something I try and think about on a daily basis, like what would mom want us to, how she would want us to approach this problem, how she would want us to live our life moving forward. And I know one thing she would say for sure is stop worrying about the stupid stuff, focus on what's important and that family side. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying about losing a loved one. Yeah, it's one of those things that for sure moving forward, I already feel changed. Like there's some things that you look back in your life and that change you moving forward, and this one is definitely one of them. And yeah, and I think even through this conversation and where I'm hoping to go is part of that is to honor her, like honor her memory and honor how she raised us and what she would want from us. And yeah, so I first I want to say that, and then second, in terms of that feeling, I think it's a really good point you make, Jody, of moving forward with that feeling. Like if that were to happen, if you had that work environment, that team that is solving problems, that is a go-to resource for our healthcare crisis, what would that feel like? And trying to encompass that on a daily basis, it'd be amazing. You have that feeling of confidence, you have that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of what you're doing matters. And I think by carrying yourself in that way, you're lifting others too. Like you're lifting those around you, and so I think it's a really good thought and point to make is as your vision and your becomes clearer, act like you're doing it, act like you're doing it already, and magic starts happening. Like I already feel a little bit more light on my feet, a little bit more. I don't know what the word is. I get my mojo. You know what I'm saying? Like the Caramantang mojo in full effect. Quadcast mojo. So yeah, no, I think that is some very good advice. You know what I'm saying?
What was that key? Like, what is that key thing? And where do you still want to go into this? Like where, or do you feel like you're walking away with something, some insight?
Oh, I'm walking away with some insight. And to summarize, as many of you have seen, we've had many initiatives. As an example, Men's Health Challenge, our Substack, our social media, all these things, our research team, and this conversation's added to the clarity that, like, we do have a project on the go that I think I really want to sink my teeth in. We're calling it Lionheart. It's a group of like-minded individuals that I'm describing that it's a go-to resource for solving some healthcare problems, like whether it's the many things that we've mentioned, whether you're a startup with this brilliant idea but needs the connections to be able to test some of these ideas. I think this is really where I want to focus, and by doing that, even some of the content from the show, our social media, is going to align with that. And Jody, I'm going to act like we've already created this beautiful, majestic group that is successful, and as a result, magical things will happen. Exactly. I believe it. Like I have a spidey sense of Caramantang and company. We're onto something here, and it just hits up on a lot of our talents, like creative thinking, communication, connections, like making connections. This is one of my few talents, is being able to help people meet the right appropriate person to try and help them execute their plan. So I'm feeling good, yo. I'm feeling like,
I love it. Yeah. I love it, and I love that magic. You've mentioned that a couple times now, and it really is. It's magical, and I think when you are clear, and you'll get more and more clarity as you start moving towards that, right? And you start thinking of it and painting that picture in your mind of like where you want to be. And as you do that, then things will start to align and all come together, right? You don't necessarily, I think a lot of times too, we focus on that how and like kind of like the nitty gritty, but it's just start moving towards that. and it'll all come together.
Absolutely. And I thought of another example of the things of letting go to try and help leave more space for that is there was some talk about, like we were supposed to do, I won't say the show, but we were supposed to do monthly or more even frequently than that occurrences, can't speak, monthly spots on a national TV show to talk about trending things. It's good exposure, but is it really where we want to go? And it's a lot of time, it's travel, it's so forth, and that's not creating the impact I believe. Unless, once again, if it was going to be shows on content on improving the healthcare system, what we really can do to transform health, that's a different story. But just, hey, this is why ashwagandha is good for you. And this myth, this is why this video on TikTok is telling you lies. That's not me anymore.
Okay.
I'm. That's not it anymore.
No.
If that makes
Well,
sense.
I commend you because you do sound like you are very clear about the direction that you want to go and what is the most impactful for you.
No,
I love it.
maybe I got you're one of many people in the circle that have helped with clarifying this, and so I want to thank you, Jodi, and so this is so folks. Maybe this wasn't totally the direction I thought this was going to go on before we started the show. I thought we would dive into other things, but I do want to highlight though, Qualcast Nation. This is the value of having somebody like Jodi. I'm going to call you executive coach. I know you don't like titles, but I'm going to call you because that clarity, like when we talk about our wellness, there's nothing more. There's nothing more valuable than having that clarity to that aligns with you to allow you to be your most authentic self and help you find your purpose. A lot of you guys listening are ambitious. You have there's things that you want to achieve, and aligning with someone like Jodi will make that magic happen. And I mean, I hope you don't mind that we went in this direction, Jodi, but I do think you are going to get a couple more calls as a result of this, especially folks as you see 2024 Quadcast Nation starting to represent even more than we've represented over the last 4 years, dominating the airwaves, executing on these wicked ideas. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but I'm just really proud of Jodi and what she's been able to achieve, and I'm really grateful for this episode. Even though I once again felt more vulnerable than I thought I was going to be, but yeah, it's you've allowed me to be more clear.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that and that little promotion there. I love it. And I do. I always enjoy our conversations and our chats, and I do think it is like I find it really helpful having those like thinking partners of like where you can just kind of like unleash. And I love that. I love listening to people and like helping them gain that clarity. I've found it immensely helpful in my life as well, and helping connect with those really important pieces because we don't always see it, right? We're so in it that it's hard to see what else is possible or what else there is, a new perspective, right?
Amen.
So thank you. And I'm excited to see where you're going to go. I know, it's, what are we talking like, coach? Kind of that like messy middle. Like sometimes you're in that messy middle, but that's what happens when you're reaching a new level, right? And then you're going to get there again. And then you go to like another new level. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm excited too. Like it's one of those things that I must say I never would have in years before as a medical trainee or even early staff. I never thought we would get to a place that we are to now. Never in my wildest dreams. And so like I already feel pretty blessed, and it's been great to have people like yourself along the way to support this. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for you. Actually, before we forget, where do people connect with Jodi? How do they get a hold of you?
So, jodywilding.com, and you can find my email there, or you can book a call if you want to even just have like a little chat. I do like discovery calls or exploratory calls, so so that's always fun too.
Amazing. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for this, Jodi.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful for you.